Hey everyone, Meteorologist Alex Williams here with you in our Weather Impact Alert Center. And yes, we are looking at alert days heading for us as we go towards the weekend and extending all the way into early next week as we will be met with an Arctic blast after what looks like more and more like an ice storm. And so we're definitely going to see the impacts as we go towards the weekend, hence why we're doing these updates. This one will be a little bit special. We'll run it a little bit longer for you today because we're going to introduce a fun part to it. So, give me just a moment here and I will pull that up for you. So we are going to add an interactive bit for it. And you all are going to be able to text me in your questions that you have about this winter storm. And so give me a moment here just to get signed in. And I'll give you that number. But yes, we are definitely looking at some impacts as we go into the weekend. And like I said, I think significant ice is not out of the question. That's the way that the models are trending. And of course, that's our guidance that we use. That's the way our forecasts are trending. That's the way the setup is trending. So everything's pointing more towards ice, less towards snow. However, we still might see that quick burst of snow early on as we go into the event. So let me get that number for you all. And we'll give that number out. And then you guys text in your questions that you have. If you have a specific location question, if you can be kind to me since I just moved to the area, and go ahead and include your name, your location, like city name, but then also if you could give me your county, that would really help me locate you a little bit faster or at least know the general area that I'm talking about. Because I'm still learning geography. I'm still new. I've got an idea of where most of everything is, but hey, it never hurts to learn something. You learn every day. I mean, even as a meteorologist, I still learn lots about the weather and lots about everything else every day. All right, so the number to text is going to be 336-379-5775. Again, that is 336-379-5775. And so if you guys want to text in your questions, that's the number to text. I'll bring it back up here again in just a little bit. But let's get into the graphics because we have a lot to talk about. So I already mentioned the weather impact alert days have stretched all the way into early next week because conditions are not expected to improve all that much as we go into early next week. We're looking at icy travel, power outages as a result, and I think that's becoming something that's increasing. We'll explain why in just a bit. Arctic chill then settles in early next week. We're going to drop our overnight lows into single digits for most of us. And that means it could feel like below zero temperatures as we go Monday night into Tuesday. So very, very cold across the triad. We're going to need supplies to last several days because you could get stuck at home. I hope that's where you are, or a hotel, or wherever you're at. You could get stuck there for several days. You need to protect your pipes, protect your home, check in on people, pets, pipes as well, and those are all things that you need to just kind of make sure everything's ready to go. At this point, we're still in our preparation stages, right? So weather today not going to be impactful, and most of Saturday is going to be all right. As we start getting past the 3 p.m. hour, that's when we need to start putting our plans into action, getting off the roads and staying off the roads, especially as we go towards the weekend. A lot of the winter storm watches that we saw originally have now been converted to warnings. We're closer to the storm, so they go from a watch to a warning as we are now approaching storms. And we see several, you can see the pink on there, that's actually not on the legend. That is an ice storm warning. And where is it? Upstate South Carolina and western North Carolina, really central North Carolina into western North Carolina, southwest North Carolina specifically. So we'll zoom here into the Carolinas. So yeah, a lot of the upstate of South Carolina also included in a ice storm warning. Significant ice accumulations are expected in those areas. And unfortunately, some gusty winds as well. And when you add ice and gusty winds, you increase power outages. One thing that our chief did talk about and share on X was that unfortunately, the infrastructure from Helene, there's still a lot of temporary poles up into northwestern North Carolina, and they're just not going to be able to withstand the same amount of ice as potentially regular poles. And so that could be an increasing issue and as we go through this storm, especially with all the ice forecasts. So I did want to make that note. So most of the triad proper is going to be encompassed in a winter storm warning. Why? Because we're going to see more than just ice. We're going to see sleet. We're going to see a little bit of some snow mixed in there as well, mainly sleet. And then on top of that, we're going to coat ourselves with a lot of ice. Ice weighs things down significantly as well. Now, you might be like, okay, so why is Raleigh not pink? They're going to be turning pink as we go later on, probably the afternoon into the evening. But remember, we get hit first, and then it moves into the triangle. So they probably will see the winter storm warning and ice storm warnings depending on what they're expecting. Now, notice here to our south and to our west, Charlotte is encompassed in an ice storm warning. So they're expected not so much to see a mixed bag of precip as they are going to see significant impacts from ice. So we'll see, that's the big reason why we're not in an ice storm warning. We're going to see criteria met, I think, in the triad for an ice storm warning. But because of the other types of precip, we've got a winter storm warning. Hopefully that makes sense a little bit. All right, let's time this out for you. So as we go into, and I'll leave myself off in case because I'm covering up Greenville-Spartanburg here, which is a pretty big city, at least twin cities there. But I'll leave myself on so I can talk to you all as we point out different things. First of all, colorization. This is snow. The purple color that you see is sleet, and then freezing rain is going to be denoted by pink. And so we are going to see this purple color start to pick up as we go towards the evening hour. So really, I think it's after about 3 o'clock as we start to go into the early evening. That's when we're going to see that first burst of snow. But notice there, that's very short-lived. And as we go into the overnight hours, we're quickly going to be overcome by sleet. And that tells me, and it makes sense with the setup, warm air is quickly nosing northward in the upstairs in the atmosphere. And so we're starting off with a little bit of a shallower layer of warm air initially. That'll take over and grow in depth, and that is really going to cause the transition from snow to sleet and then eventually to freezing rain as we go through this event. I want to also point out our surface temperatures are in the 20s. And we're going to be stuck there. So this is a classic cold air wedge or cold air damming situation as we go through this event. So here we are as we go from basically Saturday evening into Sunday morning. That's when we're going to start to see kind of the depth of warm air increase. And then also our temperatures are staying very cold at the surface. And so we are going to primarily start to see ice. Now notice here there's breaks in the precip. That's not necessarily a good thing. You might be like, oh, that means we're not going to get as much. No, on the contrary, we could actually accumulate more icing on everything because this is going to be potentially patchy, icy drizzle. And if you think about raindrops, when they hit something, they can kind of hit it and then drip down and drop off of the object. If it's a drizzle, it's just very fine mist, and it accretes and it accumulates and it just grabs onto anything it can and accumulate ice. That's what we're looking at with this situation. That's what this is showing us. Not to mention we could have steadier freezing rain as we go towards the afternoon hours and into the evening hours Sunday. So we're going to continue to accumulate ice as we go into our Sunday evening. And many of you are now starting to think about work, rightly so, as we go into Monday morning. We could still have maybe some patchy drizzle hanging around. And again, that would be freezing drizzle because our temperatures are not going to warm up above freezing until Wednesday. So that's why we are so concerned about these impacts being long lasting. There you can see it starts to clear out of us, at least some of the precip there on our early on Monday morning, but we'll still be left with the impact. So what are we going to see? We're going to see a mixed bag of precipitation. If you're closer to western North Carolina and the foothills, you're going to see better chances of snow and sleet mixing in there. As you start heading to the south and to the east, you're going to get into more of the icing. So we'll see lots of sleet, potentially for portions of the metro here in the Triad, as well as our northern counties. And then you're going to start mixing in ice and more amounts of it and greater amounts of it as we go towards, the south and east. Major ice threat once you get to the southern edge and over to the triangle and down towards Charlotte. They are looking at quite a bit of ice expected. So that's kind of how the precipitation breaks down, but this is why. So when we are talking precipitation types, warm air is very important. Where is it? How much of it do we have? How much cold air do we have? Remember, cold air was a problem last weekend. We had the transitory high, didn't lock in. We have a high pressure locked in, and it's going to continue to supply us with cold air. It's not going anywhere at the surface, so that's locked in. What we're watching is the warm air that's going to move in at about 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And it's going to start to nose in just a little bit and kind of punch in. If you think about it like a nose, right? I have a pretty prominent nose, so mine sticks out pretty far, my Welsh heritage there. But think of it like that, right? Your nose is sticking out, and so it's pushing into the atmosphere as we start to increase the warm air, the movement of warm air advection into those lower to middle levels of the atmosphere. So initially, we'll start off as sleet, but eventually that depth of warm air grows, and we have that very shallow layer of cold air at the surface, Arctic air. So we're going to melt the snowflakes all the way into rain, and then rain is going to fall onto a surface that is primed and ready to accumulate that. And so it's going to hit an object and freeze instantly. And that is freezing rain, and nobody wants to deal with that because nobody can drive on ice. I don't care how experienced of a driver you are. So here's our snow sleet forecast. This is going to be mainly sleet, a little bit of snow mixing in there at times. Ice is going to fall on top of this, which will make it near impossible to clear. And it could sit on back streets and your neighborhoods for days to come. So do be prepared when we say be prepared to be stuck at home for several days. Be prepared to be stuck at home for several days. Oh, and don't get the milk bread and eggs. That's a whole other thing. You can check out my socials for more on that. But 1 to 2 inches of snow and sleet there as we get a little bit further south of, say, Guilford County into parts of northern Randolph County over towards Davidson County, Alamance County as well. This is the biggest threat by far, is the ice. We are going to see a significant amount of ice from this ice storm. I mean, I think it's rightly so that we're calling it an ice storm because that is the primary precipitation type on this. And depending on how quickly we change over from that sleet to freezing rain Sunday, it's going to be an extended period of freezing rain on Sunday. Most of Sunday, it will be accumulating ice. So we're talking 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch for most of the actual triad itself. Our big cities, from Winston-Salem over to Greensboro, down to Lexington, over to Asheboro, over to Burlington, Reidsville. Maybe Reidsville not quite encompassed in that, and Winston-Salem not quite encompassed in necessarily that 1/2 inch or greater. Let me tell you something. You're going to have issues if you get 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 inch. Meanwhile, you get 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, and we're talking serious issues. Trees start coming down, power outages start ramping up very fast, and we're talking over 1/2 inch of ice. It's going to be an absolutely crushing ice storm, and that could be southern portions of our metro all the way south into Charlotte, maybe over to the Triangle as well. So we're going to be in it, and this is going to be a very serious storm. Let's talk about freezing rain and the power of ice. So I talked about it a little bit already. 1/10 of an inch of ice will put a light glaze on roads, sidewalks, bridges. All right, that starts getting slick. It gets slick to walk outside. It gets slick to drive around. That's 1/10 of an inch. By the time you approach 1/4 inch, we're talking icy roads, tree limbs start to sag and start to break, and numerous power outages. And these are going to be long-lasting power outages as well because again, power crews, we only have so many of them. And, if Charlotte's getting hit, if the Triangle's getting hit and we're getting hit, we only have so many resources. So patience. I hate we don't like the term pack your patience, but pack your patience because you need to grant and give people grace during this situation because it's going to be long lasting and it will disrupt your life 100%. You're going to have disruptions to your normal daily life with this. We get up to 1/2 inch of ice. This is the last ice storm in 2014. We've been talking about it all morning. We're going to continue to talk about it. Dangerous travel on roads, widespread tree damage, that was seen. Long-term power outages possible, and our own chief meteorologist, Tim Buckley, brought up a really good point. The amount of tree damage that we're going to see from this, the amount of infrastructure damage and impacts to roads could be similar to what you see from a tropical system, a hurricane. trees are going to take an extreme hit from this. And remember how many trees are already down because of Helene in western North Carolina. So now we're going to be adding more trees to that, unfortunately, with this storm. As far as storm impacts going, again, I kind of broke down the sleet. It'll be sleet, snow early on, then freezing rain taking over after that. That's going to make travel almost impossible as we go into really the Sunday morning through Monday morning time frame. And then power outages are going to start to ramp up as we start to accumulate ice, especially afternoon Sunday, and that's going to get even worse Sunday night into Monday. This is what we call the Winter Storm Severity Index, and this gives you an idea of impacts. When you start seeing the oranges on there, you have impacts to daily life, right? You start seeing the red on there, we're really going to start seeing impacts. And again, this is Friday through Monday, with the greatest impacts of that kind of concentrated across the southern metro, and then back towards, say, Charlotte, towards Raleigh. And you can see parts of Guilford County encompassed in that as well. And so that's something we're going to have to deal with as we go through this system. We're just going to see impacts. So to break this down for you, whoops, as I skip over to the forecast temperatures, I thought I had the other one on there, but we can just click through it. But I also do want to get to your questions, and we have about 4 minutes here. So let me look and see if anybody put in some questions here. What is expected in Kernersville? It says I'm OB. I'm guessing, is that OBGYN? But Kernersville, of course, over there kind of right there near, I believe it's still in Guilford County, if I'm correct on that. And then, but it's very close there to the, so we're going to see impacts as well. So everybody, if we go back here to our snow map for Kernersville, see if I can zoom in here. I think we only have certain ones on that. But you can see if we look here, basically extreme western Guilford County here. So you can see right here, that's I-40. And so I know Kernersville is here. So, I mean, we're still looking at potentially 2 to 4 inches of mainly sleet and maybe a little bit of snow. And then as far as the ice is concerned, you can see southern portions of Guilford County here into Davidson County. I mean, we're still talking a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. Whether you get a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, or greater than a 1/2 inch, it's not going to make much of a difference. We're going to see massive impacts. We're going to see power outages expected, and it's going to be widespread and long-lasting. You have to plan for that, depending on where you're at. But that's what I would say for Kernersville. And then as far as timing goes, because you guys are further to the west, you're going to start to see things a little sooner than maybe other parts of the metro. But I would still say Saturday evening into Sunday, all through Sunday, and then into Monday. It's just going to be an ice rink across the area. All right, let's see what else we have. Guilford County. I believe that is what that was. Yes, yeah. So what time will the storm move into Guilford County? So we can go back to that. I still think anywhere between 3 to 6 o'clock is when we're going to start to see some of those impacts there into Guilford County, and that'll start off as snow, then become sleet as we especially go. I mean, you'll hear the sleet. It'll be the and if it's coming down and you get a blast of sleet, like a sleet storm, it'll be like psh. You think I'm joking. Go out and listen to the sleet, and that's exactly what it'll sound like as we go into Saturday night into early Sunday. So I would say for Guilford County that, and then, you know, the timing of that. So maybe closer to 5, 6 o'clock as we start to get that initial burst of snow. It'll kind of just pop up to the north and then maybe fill in a little bit to the south. But again, how quickly does that warm air punch its way in and ruin our snow chances and take over as sleet? That's what we do not know, and that's what we'll have to watch. Hi, Arvin. Fairly new to this type of storm as we move from the west coast. Welcome. We're happy you're here. You're in High Point in Guilford County. What type of storm will this be? I'm hearing mixed opinions. How would we prepare? Will it snow or will it be ice? It will be predominantly ice. I'm very confident in telling you that. You will not see much in the way of snow. You might see a little bit more sleet from that. But if you look there towards southern Guilford County, especially towards High Point, I think you're going to have to deal with potentially 1/2 inch or more of ice. and that is going to massively damage infrastructure. It's going to make roads an ice skating rink. So the best thing that you can do, Arvin, is to stay home. Stay off the roads as we go into the evening. And so I know that we just went past. I probably got cut off. But if I didn't, keep it here with us. We'll continue to keep you updated on this storm.